Hey everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin Racing podcast presented by Cabo Wabo Tequila, the unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. Cabo Wabo isn't just tequila, it's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. And Cabo Wabo is the official tequila partner of NASCAR, so you can add a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo Tequila. And if you're heading to a race this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. But we want to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals, so please enjoy that thick-cut, bold taste, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila responsibly. So grab your buds this weekend, a bottle of Cabo Wabo, and have the boldest race day experience ever. Got to be 21 years or older to handle it, and you have to handle it responsibly. Thank you so much, Cabo Wabo, for the continued support. Welcome back, boys. Anything going on I need to know about? Any pregnancies or deaths in the family? Any shit like that? No?
I was at the Barstool Classic yesterday, Large. And
how many of those you go to a year, Spider?
Probably like 6 to 8.
Okay.
I know both you and I are going to the championship in Arizona later this year, which should be awesome. Mm-hmm. But at the end of it, this one guy approached me that was competing in it, and he said, "Hey, are you Spider? I hear you're friends with Paul Swan." And I said, "Yeah, who are you? Do you work in NASCAR?" And he said, "Yes, in fact, I do. My name is Jackson, and I'm the strength and conditioning coach at RCR, Richard Childress Racing." Turns out Jackson won the long drive contest at the Barstool Classic yesterday in North Carolina. So shout out Jackson. And I don't know. You got to be very talented to be Paul Swan's strength coach. That guy's a fucking tank himself, so...
I don't want to be disrespectful, but did he seem like a little bit of a juice head?
Honestly, maybe it was what he was wearing, but he was kind of unassuming. I would say like a little bit of a Parker Retzlaff vibe, where it's like, that dude is really almost one Daytona. It's like, that dude's the strength coach? No offense to Jackson. He was probably wearing a baggy raincoat. We were taking monsoon levels of Chicago street race levels of rainfall at the Barstool Classic, but still a fun day nonetheless at Pine Needles Golf Course there.
Some of the finest golf courses in the land are involved with the Barstool Classic now. I think it's very, very well run. I highly recommend it to anybody. Quiggs, how's football season treating you?
It's good. It's busy. And then had a wedding. I went to Pittsburgh this weekend, so I got boots on the ground. I think it's a nice little road
yeah,
course
what's your
spot.
scouting report?
Well, Pittsburgh was actually beautiful and way nicer than I thought. It doesn't look like it's set up to host a race. It seemed very like hilly and...
That could be good. Sonoma
yeah,
vibe.
but not in a racing way. Not long, like sloped hills. But no, that was great. And then football season's killing me, but it's good. And
Quiggs and I are both alive in our Barstool and DraftKings have combined for a $50,000 bonus bet to one employee here who survives the longest. Each week we have to give one touchdown scorer. And we're both still live after 2 weeks. I had Derrick Henry in week 1, and then I had Jordan Mason, who scored for the Niners in week 2. And I don't know who Quiggs had, but we're both still live. And who knows? Maybe we could continue to fight on and go neck and neck for this 50K bonus bet, courtesy of DraftKings.
So if it sounds extremely easy, all you have to do is just pick one player in all the NFL that's going to score a touchdown on any given weekend. I've done it 2 weeks in a row. I got knocked out the first week. My guy didn't hit. I think I had like McCaffrey or some bullshit. Then I was allowed to put in 2 guys this week, and both of them had to hit, and neither of them did. So I'm absolutely goose-egged on this thing, and I'm officially out. But yeah, I think it's a good thing. We'll talk about it a little bit later on the DraftKings read before we pick our stuff. How you doing, Travis? Everything good?
Yeah. Yeah, doing great. Getting rained on, like Spider said, North Carolina. Weather's not good this week, but other than that, I'm happy.
Excellent. I was in
I'm happy
that's all we need to know. Other than that, I'm happy. I was in Vegas last week and for Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga, and I spoke to Canelo. I think I had sent you the clip. I'll send it to you, Manoli. I had asked Canelo to be Grand Marshal of the Mexico City race next season, and he graciously accepted. So we'll see if it's just talk. I'm going to be speaking to his manager, I think in the next 2 weeks, and see if that'll come together. I did give him the wrong date when I was interviewing him. He fights in May and in September of every year, around Cinco de Mayo, then around Mexican Independence Day in September So the race in Mexico City will be sometime in June, so he shouldn't be in training camp then. So I think that would be kind of cool. If I make the intro, it's like, hey, mi amo Largo, this is a Spidero, this is Daniel Suarez Canelo. I think it would be kind of cool for us to brush up on some Spanish. I don't think that was good Spanish.
Araxito? I think that means little spider.
What
is it?
Oh.
Araxito?
Araxito.
That might be.
Yeah.
It's like a raccoon.
Yeah. Yep. I'm El Gato Grande. And Cabeza de Luna is Moonhead. And then, Liberale is Quicks. Headlines and rumors. Ty Dillon is now the favorite to go to Kaulig's 31 car. I don't think people are overly pumped up about this, but Ty brings a lot of funding with them. So there it is. We're still hearing Zane Smith to front row. And then this week, I don't know, I've heard this more than in weeks past. Corey LaJoie to the 51, and then Justin Haley to Spire's 7. So it's just sort of swapping back and forth. It's just like a silly season update. One of the things when I was looking at Justin Haley, I was kind of just looking at his record. I had read something, I don't even know if it's true. He previously went by the nickname JJ Haley. Did you know that? And then he changed it to Justin because he didn't want to be confused with just JJ Yelly. That's true, huh, Moonhead?
Yeah. When he first started running truck races, it was a big thing. People were getting confused, so he had to change his whole last name, which is pretty wild because he apparently had gone by it since he was a kid.
Yeah, he was JJ Haley up until 2016, and then just to, I don't know, shake the stigma of being JJ Yelly, he went to Justin Haley, and now it looks like he's going to wield the number 7 next season. And then the only other thing that's still floating around is that Ryan Preece will be going to the 3rd RFK car, and that's one that they're probably going to be leasing from Rick Ware. So that's like a little silly season update. We already know about some of the other stuff that's going on. I'm just curious. I'm looking forward to just having a roster for next year, just knowing where everybody is and cutting through all this bullshit. Spider, somebody had sent me a DM, this kid Dominic, and he said, I'm a fan of the show, a huge NASCAR fan. This guy goes to a couple of races a year, but lives in New York, even though he's originally from South Carolina. And he's wondering if Barstool at any point could throw a race watch. You think that's something that could get some steam, either in Chicago or in New York, just to do a race? We'd have to do a bunch of them to get some degree of regularity, so people would know that the place we're going to is a NASCAR bar and that we do it. You think that's a worthwhile idea? Because he's dying to watch a race with race fans, and he doesn't know many up here.
I mean, I agree with Dominic. It is tough living in New York City or non-NASCAR market, and there really is no existing community. But I also feel like that's pretty optimistic. I'm not sure we could sell out bars and do live shows and everything like that. It's one thing if we're at the racetrack and there's already 50,000 fans there waiting to watch the race that are walking through the midway. I like where his head's at. I also think that it would be interesting to see the demographic. As much as I would like to think it would be people like Dominic and myself that are relatively, kind of new NASCAR fans, as well as a good portion of people that showed up without any intentions to watch the race. I think we'd have a pretty good conversion rate with getting them at least paying attention or invested in that particular race, which is a great starting point. So, I would love to see it. I think we've kind of almost done this a little bit, though, Large. We've done this in Nashville during the Xfinity race when we were there for the Cup race that weekend, and then Chicago as well. So, I don't know. Those are 2 markets where we do NASCAR races in. So, to Dominic's point, it would be cool kind of doing something where it doesn't exist. But I'm up for it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I think it's something that we'd probably get a strong go fuck yourself at this point in the season, but during the summer perhaps, and like he mentions, maybe do Daytona, Talladega, any mile and a half with these next gen cars would be ideal, but any race would get me hyped. I think if we were to time it before, if you wanted to show the Bristol night race on Saturday during college football season at a New York City bar, I think you'd have a tough time getting most of the TVs dedicated to it. Are there big NASCAR bars in the South? Do you walk into a lot of North Carolina bars on a Sunday and all they're showing is the race? I don't know. I've never watched a race from a bar down south.
I don't think you really get that many NASCAR bars except for really close to big tracks. Like, other than that, I don't know if there's like just dedicated NASCAR or race bars like anywhere in like big cities or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be down to do it. I'd put my card down and buy a bunch of drinks if people are into it. But yeah, so it's just something to keep in our back of our mind for probably for next season. We're going to recap the race. We're going to go through everything. We have just one ad read right now. It's with Vanderhagen. You got to make the switch from cartridge razor to safety razor today with Vanderhagen. I'm in love with this thing since I started using it. Safety razors allow you to get a closer, more comfortable shave. The use of one-blade razors help prevent nicks and cuts while making your skin feel smoother than ever. And the best part, these blades cost as little as $1 a piece and last anywhere from 3 to 5 shaves. This will save you thousands of dollars over the years compared to the cost of cartridge razors. The blades are ice-tempered, stainless steel blades from Germany that are sharp enough to give you the perfect shave on either the top of your head or your back, if you're me. Ready to step up your shaving game? Get smoothest, closest shave with our single blade and shave butter combo. Say goodbye to nicks and irritation, and hello to a shave that's almost too smooth to handle. Get a shave so smooth, it should come with a warning, perfectly close, incredibly soft, and this is how real men shave. So check out your local Target and or Walmart to get yourself a Vanderhagen safety razor today. And if you're serious about stepping up your grooming game, hit that follow button on @Vanderhagen. Stay in the loop with the latest shaving tips, product drops, and exclusive giveaways. Whether you're mastering the art of the close shave or just looking to keep it fresh, our Instagram is where the best in men's grooming comes to life. So join the community, level up your shave, keep your style sharp. Visit them at @Vanderhagen on Instagram or go pick some up at Target and Walmart today. Connor Zilisch. Let's talk about this guy. Who drafted him when we had that draft the other day? Who got Connor Zilisch?
Moon.
That was me.
Moon got him.
Yeah, people on Twitter called me crazy, by the way. I wanted to talk a little shit. People on Twitter were hating on my team. They said it was too young. A lot of them didn't even know who Connor Zilisch was. And what are we, a month and a half later, and he's already kicking everybody's ass. So I just wanted to say that I believed my team was the best, and I think I'm proving it already. But what were you going to say, Large? I'm sorry. When
they did the poll, did we do a poll where people voted on it? Because I thought you were sort of around the basement, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's not forget. He had like, who'd you have second pick? Hocevar.
Yeah.
Get him, Quiggs. Get him.
Yeah,
get him,
but there were some heavy
Quiggs,
hitters
Hocevar
still
drove
on the
his
board.
ass off this last week.
Third.
I know, but I think you took him over like Byron or like somebody.
It's 10 years, man. I mean, Byron might find him a woman and move off to Europe or something in the next few years, you know? Like,
True.
We don't know. Like, I'm looking at the young guys, and
you did
I had
go the youngest
very,
by far.
very young guys, and one ran third at a cup race, and one just tarred and feathered them in Xfinity. So I like my team. I think I've got the best
I
team.
took Denny Hamlin for the next 10 years, so I equally have things wrong with my list.
And SVG, right?
Yeah, but I like the SVG pick.
Yeah, but I mean, both those guys will be like 45, 50.
SVG's younger than Denny. SVG's good for the 10 years, I think.
By the way, this SVG guy is impossible to hate, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right? He jumped out of the car and spoke about the race afterwards. Fucking guy is so
You
likable.
had to be excited, Large, watching the finish of that race.
It's the only bet I hit. I threw it in last minute. SVG top Chevy. So it made it to the graphic.
You did have him top Chevy.
Yeah, so it's the only one that I had hit. Well, let me just concentrate on Zilisch for a while.
Yeah.
For people, casuals and stuff like that, Skid's just a stud. He's 18 years old. He ran his first Xfinity race this weekend. He started on the pole, and then even mid-race, he had an on-track penalty, which moved him back to 31st. And then he went through an absolutely stacked field to win. You could say stuff like, well, maybe it was an Xfinity. I don't know if people would say that. But there were road course ringers and Cup Series drivers all over the track on Saturday. So he's getting by Allmendinger and SVG and Ross Chastain and Ty Gibbs and William Byron. These are who he had to claw through to get back to P1, and then he won after multiple restarts in double OT. That kid did well on restarts and whatnot. So an 18-year-old driving for Junior Motorsports on loan from Trackhouse became the 7th driver in series history to win in their debut, and he's the second youngest winner in series history. He led 45 of 90 laps, won the opening stage by almost 11 seconds. He also won the ARCA race on Friday by nearly 13 seconds. That was his 5th win in that series. He's going to drive full-time for Junior Motorsports next year in the Xfinity Series. Everybody is absolutely blowing this kid. Is it well-deserved? You think he was on Door Bumper Clear again? He was on twice, I believe, this season. People are comparing him to the all-time greats. He's 18 years old. Is this hype for real? I mean, I know how Moonhead feels about it. He'd draft him tomorrow again. Or is it too early to call? And I'll ask you right now, if you were fielding a Cup team in 2026, because this kid already has his seat in Xfinity 2025, would you rather him or SVG? Those are my two questions. Too early to call this kid as the fucking next Kyle Larson or whatever you want to say, and would you rather him over SVG in 2026? Two very specific questions.
I think he is the next big thing. I mean, winning in your debut is next level, and you said it, Large. He got by some very significant names. He got it done in multiple restarts, double OT, and he not only did he win the pole, but he won the race and was up front for a good portion of it. So I think he's the real deal. My only concern is I feel like a lot of times these guys get rushed up the Cup, so that would be my only concern, is just tread lightly and don't rush into it. And then to answer your question, would I rather him or SVG, I'm going to kind of give a cop-out answer and think that both of these guys, I think, are going to have a seat at the table. To me, I think Trackhouse is almost putting themselves in a position where it's like, I don't know. You see Daniel Suarez have massive success this year, get in the playoffs, when I thought it would have been Ross Chastain. And they're going to have some tough decisions to make with all four of those drivers. I mean, obviously Zane Smith, it sounds like, is going to front row, but between Suarez and Chastain, who probably are going to have contracts coming up before that time, and then you got SVG and now Zilish, who looks like he could be ready at any moment. So I don't know. Trackhouse, it's a champagne problem to have, but they do have a problem on their hands, in my opinion.
Do you think it would be rushing him if he, let's say next season he goes into the Xfinity Series and wins 4 races?
No.
What do you think you do that? Do you think it would be rushing him if he had a lot of success in Xfinity and they're like, next season you're in the Cup?
I just think when he goes to Cup, should it be after he wins 4 races in the Xfinity Series next year?
Yeah.
We can't give him the Zane Smith treatment that Zane got the whole first half of this season, that it's like, why is he so bad? Why is he so...
Yeah.
Like, it takes time. So I just think...
So
obviously, people will probably give him a longer leash, given that he seems to have more hype than any prospect I can really remember. But I don't know. My concern is just that he would be rushed. But I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so, Quiggs, you're saying if he does pull off 4 wins... I mean, you kind of set the bar there. I'm not saying that's exactly it. But if he does pull off 4 wins and it has like a little bit of a mix between road courses and ovals... Right, because you're bringing SVG up right now as a road course driver, so you have this kid maybe has a more, diverse skill set than SVG.
I would say so, yeah.
And he's 18.
Yeah, but I was just kind of more wondering what Spider's definition of like rushing a guy into the Cup Series was.
Well,
because sometimes it's like if he dominates in the Xfinity Series, do you leave him there for another year to like get more experience? Which I don't think you do. I think you set him up there.
I guess not rushing him up to Cup is the right term. I guess what I meant to say is be patient when he is in Cup.
No, and you're right about that. Like, people do get rushed into that. I just don't know.
One season in Xfinity does not seem like enough. Like, for an 18-year-old kid, you know what I mean? Unless he comes in, wins the championship, an Xfinity Series championship, and just really does prove himself to be the next big thing, like this wonder kid. But,
Travis, aren't there tracks where you literally have to be 18 to even drive at?
Yeah. I mean, that Watkins Glen was one of them. Like he just made the cut doing that. So he's young. And I think going back to Large's point, SVG's like 35. So
he's literally double his age.
Yeah. I mean, I think Connor has a little bit more value just with the potential. but we've got to see. We've only seen SVG kick ass on road courses, and so far we've only seen Connor kick ass on road courses. I've seen him win in the Cars Tour and run really well in late models and stuff at the lower level. Obviously in ARCA he's been doing really well, but I think we can't really say until we see how he does week after week on different styles of oval against a lot of big teams and big names like the Xfinity Series has.
Do you have any kind of historical perspective on when somebody else was an absolute hyped up beast like him and then became an absolute fucking bust once they did, get behind the wheel? I'm sure it happens more often than not, right?
It happened to Joey Logano. Like he came in 08 with a lot of hype. He won, I think, a range shortened race. And then for years after that, he really wasn't relevant in the Cup Series. I mean, he'd have good runs here and there, but I think if the Penske ride didn't come along, he was kind of going down that path of being considered a bust. Now, obviously, you got the Penske ride, and look what happened. So I think also NASCAR fans especially are quick to call somebody a bust when they get to Cup and don't immediately have the same success or results they had in Xfinity. We see guys like Ty Gibbs or even Noah. Noah won like 9 races, I think, his last full-time year at Xfinity, and hasn't really, I know he's kind of had some adversity, but hasn't really had that same success in Cup. Same with Ty Gibbs. He runs fine, but we don't see him contending for wins every week like we would in Xfinity. So it's really hard to say how he'll do, but I personally, a little bit of bias, I think that if anybody could come in and start kicking ass right out of the gate in Cup, Connor's kind of shown that he learns quick and can adapt over time. This year he's won the Rolex 24, Sebring, like I said, Cars Tour race, ARCA race, now an Xfinity race. Like, he can get it done across the board. So I feel like if anybody could do it, it'd probably be him.
Yeah, just I don't know. I'm trying to have tempered expectations, but the kid seems like a legitimate superstar. We should have him on the show at some point. Or wait till he's 21. We can go out and get him a hooker or something. On to Sunday. What did you guys think of the race? What did you guys think of the race what did you think of the ending of the race on Friday before we get to it? Did anyone watch that? On Saturday. Did anyone watch the end of that Xfinity race? I wound up, sitting there through all that. I was just stuck in the hotel. Which was sloppy, or what did you guys think? And we'll talk about it more, especially with Sunday's race. But how did you feel about that ending?
I was wedding during that, so I missed all of Xfinity.
Yeah, I didn't see
your excuse. That's a fine excuse. But Moon, did you watch the?
Yes, I did. I was glued to the TV. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good race. The penalty where they all cut the bus stop under caution really made things interesting. And I don't know. I was a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of how long the last 2 laps of the thing took. I'm not team get rid of overtime, but I'm team whoever it was that drove back 2 miles leaking fluid out of their car and led to that, there should be some sort of penalty for that, because that's ridiculous. I feel like it happens too much on the road courses where somebody just takes their absolute shit box that's no way they're going to finish the race, and they drive it back to pit road and douse the track and stuff. So that sucked, but the race was good. And that last restart and seeing how Connor was able to make moves that did not look like his first start, I guess, were worth the wait.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very impressive, but I had to hop too, so I was waiting for the race to be done. So I was like, fuck. You know what I mean? I just kind of wanted it to get to the end of it, but it was still might have even arguably been a better race than Sunday. But on the opening lap of Sunday's race, Corey LaJoie did Corey LaJoie things. He made contact with Kyle Busch in the bus stop, triggering a multi-car melee, swept up a bunch of people who were in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Ryan Blaney, who was attempting to avoid the crash, got hit by Brad Kay, who veered off to the right to avoid the carnage. Keselowski barely caught the front left corner of Blaney's car, but it was enough to break the steering column on the number 12. And without Blaney being able to drive the car back to the pit area, per the NASCAR rulebook, his day was done. A lot of stuff has been talked about this, because Blaney had said, even afterwards, if you blow a tire and you have to get a tow back to it, you can still repair the tire and get out there. But since this was a steering wheel issue, and since he hadn't even completed one fucking lap, he should have had the opportunity to make some adjustments, perhaps, to the steering column and get back out there and race. I know this rule is black and white. You know, if it isn't for tires and you put on the truck and you go back to the garage, your day is done. But should they make some exceptions? Should there be some more? NASCAR seems to be moving targets all over with every one of their rules. Should this be one of those moving targets? I feel bad for Blaney, and that's not the reason I bring up changing this, you know, making the Blaney exception. But it just seems like we missed out on having a very competitive guy, maybe even continue to be competitive after a long pit stop where they fixed his steering. So what should NASCAR do about that? Because it seems like it's making a stink this week.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about this, because I feel like, I don't know, it feels like if you open up to where there's a part of me that's like, yeah, Blaney should have had a chance to fix the car. But if you do that, there's obviously scenarios where somebody's just done for the day when they wreck, and they shouldn't have a chance. And then if you change the rules, that just leaves up a judgment call of like what amount of damage when you get towed allows you to fix your car. And I don't know, it feels a little unfair, but it's definitely like the rule was definitely correct. It's whether or not that rule itself is fair, and I think you have to kind of maybe just stick with that rule, or else you just replace it with another judgment call.
So it's all or none. If it does fall within the auspice, then it's. I mean, I can respect that. That's the reason rules are in place.
You could start the timer maybe when you start the tow, and maybe that would be more fair. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. That's one of the questions where it's like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like as a fan I know a better solution than people that work in the sport and the drivers and everything. So I kind of just defer to the people around me that are smarter. But yeah, I think my biggest criticism of this week was Ty Gibbs. Not with Ty Gibbs. I agree with Ty Gibbs' criticism. He said that it would just complained about the ability to pass and whatnot, which I don't know. All the drivers, every week, it's a different driver seemingly asking for more power, more horsepower. So I think that's something that should be explored.
Yeah, I think there was a bunch of gripes from this week. I try to amass all the problems that people have with races as they go by. People said we didn't get the tire fall off we were promised. People saying it was impossible to pass outside of restarts. Single file racing until desperation time, and then drivers just lost their respect for other drivers and became a checkers or wreckers mentality. People are looking to get rid of stage breaks after the stages on road courses, which I 100% agree with. It really fucks with the fluidity of watching that, or probably racing it. And then this is a record-breaking 12th overtime in a single season. Is it too many, and should we cap this thing at some point to maybe, I don't know, 3 overtimes or something? So people had a big problem with it, but I think one of the biggest problems was what you had alluded to, Spider, what Ty Gibbs had said. People don't I don't know what it is. People don't respect other drivers anymore. Tyler Reddick had said it on Sirius at some point since the race, that it's the absolute fucking Wild West out there. Do you see that? Do you see, like, Joey Logano had then commented that the reason it is like that is because the Gen 7 car is sturdier. It used to be that you could just rub somebody and their day was done. But now, since the cars can kind of take a little bit of this bumper car action, you use it. And it's because the car gives you the opportunity to use it. Has that become worse for NASCAR to see turn one, that funnel as Tyler was talking about, just become an absolute fucking melee? Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of finesse or professionalism or even talent to come out of that when you're in the middle of the pack. The restart, I know we kind of see it, but that middle of the pack where they all of a sudden get 4 wide on turn 1 and then just start fucking wrecking each other doesn't seem that finesse. Do you guys agree with that? Is this something that should be done? Single lane restarts rather? Like, it just seems sloppy at times this weekend.
I don't know that there's a better answer. I mean, you look at even the start of this race, and they wrecked right away on lap 2 in a playoff race. So as much as they're saying that, they wait until desperation time and then they seem to lose all respect, it kind of seemed like to me there was no respect from the beginning of this race. and I'm not going to call anyone out specifically, but it's just like there was unnecessary wrecks early in that race that ended up taking, Blaney and Denny and putting them in a really, really tight spot. So I don't know. I don't think it's just, right at the buzzer there or right when the race is coming to an end. It seems like this was throughout, and I'm not sure what could have been done differently.
Go ahead.
I remember, I think the previous gen, I think drivers were complaining about how minute damage would cause big issues and sort of end their days. And these cars are a lot more sturdy and allow for a little bit more rubbin. And I guess I would, as much as I don't love what people are doing out there now on the track, I prefer that the issue be people get too aggressive than people are too worried about ruining their car with any sort of contact. So I guess it's in a better spot. But yeah, I guess there just needs to be a little more respect out there. Maybe. I don't know. There should be, I guess, but I don't care. I want people disrespecting each other out there.
I think just for the viewing audience too, these restarts are so slow. I had just gotten off a flight from Vegas, so I had the benefit of watching this on tape, so I sort of, fast forward through, these yellow flag unnecessary laps. And I don't know, it just kind of slows it down. But I agree with you sometimes. And then you get the ending that we got, which sort of makes everything okay.
Yeah.
So when Jeff Gluck had put up, was this a good race? And 80 some odd % said yes. A lot of them in the comments were like, I was leaning towards no, but then we got that ending, so I had to. So it just makes everything okay, right?
Yeah.
You just sort of wrap it in some pretty wrapping paper. Is there less respect between drivers nowadays, particularly on road courses and super speedways, than there has been? And is it just the car, or do you think these young punk kids have something to do with it? Moon, what do you think?
I think people like to blame the young guys, and you could make that case watching the lower divisions race, but I think it boils down to what Ty said. You can't pass, and then Joey pointed out that the cars are durable. So if you've got a late race restart and once you get up to speed, it's going to be hard to get around the guys in front of you. I feel like a lot of these guys just plow in there and push people until they're out of their way and go about their race. And not saying it's right, but I think that they're kind of put in a box, especially now with being playoff time and every point mattering. You got to do what you got to do. And if you can't pass them straight up and your car's not going to break, if you just ass pack somebody down into turn one on a restart, everybody's going to do it. And I feel like when you have 30 guys with that same mentality, you're going to have wrecks. And it's not a Cup exclusive thing. I mean, the Xfinity car is not like the Cup car, and we see the same thing happen late in those races too. But I think to Joey's point, the thing we heard Keselowski at Chicago say they're easier to drive on the road courses. Joey's saying they're more durable, and Ty's saying you can't pass. To me, that's a reputation for people to just start running into each other, or a recipe for people to start running into each other. So I don't know what they can do to fix it. I do think that they took a step in the right direction on Sunday. We didn't get the fall off that they said we were going to get, but I do feel like that was one of the more entertaining Watkins Glen races that we've seen in this car. And there were at least instances of people being able to make up ground and pass and do things. So hopefully they can continue to fine tune that. And when we get into some of the road course races next year, we'll kind of see some of that road course racing we were used to with the old car.
But this was all about Chris Buescher at the end of the day, as I had said, and he ended a streak of 5 consecutive Hendrick Motorsport wins at Watkins Glen. It was his first road course victory. He's come close so many times. And then as soon as he popped out of the car, one of his big quotes was, "We're here to be spoilers, and we're going to do just that." He also, SVG kind of used him up earlier in the race, and then he raced SVG hard but clean towards the end. And he had said to one of the reporters, "What happens if SVG was to have had a problem with you?" And he's like, "I really don't know what I would do, because SVG is the one guy who's bigger than me." And you realize, like Buescher, when he approached Tyler Reddick, I had said it seemed like a dad approaching his kid, right? Just because of the size difference. But SVG is big, so maybe like Buescher giving him a ton of respect. But that was a fantastic end to the race. Once SVG had gotten out there, I turned to my wife and I said, "Oh, it's over. You know, he's out there and this thing." And it wasn't. He made a small mistake in the bus stop, and Chris Buescher made an aggressive move to take advantage of it. And he finally brings home a W for this season. So congratulations to the 17 team. Been a long time coming this season, and it's a couple of weeks too late, obviously, in terms of being a playoff driver. But it's great for the team. It's great for Brad to see, you know, one of his teammates and whatnot. What do you think? Like, so now when you have this happen, how does that make you feel? This was a weird fucking race. There was no, for the first time in history, there was no playoff drivers in the top 5. Right? There was no playoff drivers who finished in the top 5. That's a wild fucking statement. And I guess does it reflect more of the randomness to road courses, or does it reflect to parity within the Cup Series? You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone said, I don't know if they got it right with having Harrison Burton, you know, in the playoffs and all that shit. Nobody in the playoffs was able to make it to the top 5. Can you account for that at all? Or is it just one of those random ass fucking things?
I think it's a little rant because also like another fact was it's the first playoff race in 10 years that a playoff driver didn't at least finish second. Mm-hmm. So even more than that, it's like a playoff driver is always close to the top. Road courses are weird because people specialize in them and all that, but I think it's just kind of like a little bit of an outlier of like that was just an insane race that like none of the playoff guys had a good day.
Yeah, I think it was an anomaly. And then you look at starting on lap 1 or 2, whatever it was, with Blaney and Denny, there's 2 of the better playoff drivers right there that just days were ruined immediately. So I wouldn't really put too much stock into that. It is an interesting stat, and it's one worth mentioning, but I don't know. NASCAR has had immense parity all season long, so I'm not sure I'm going to credit that for this either. I think it's more of just like, you know, a unique thing that happened. But
Spider, I'm going to give you 3 stats. You tell me which one's impressive. The one I just gave you. Yeah. So it's the first time in any of the 3 National Touring Series that had 0 playoff drivers inside the top 5. That was the first race in the history in all 3 series where a playoff driver did not finish in the top 5. Briscoe is closest at P6. That's my first stat. The second one, the top 5 all had either a 1 or a 7 in their car number. I don't know why, but I thought that was kind of cool. You had the 17, the 16, the 77, the 1, and then the 71. So every one of the ones in the top 5 had either a 1 or a 7. That's my second stat. And the third one might be a little biased towards Moonhead, but Ford is now 4-0 in the Lee Diffie era with 4 different teams too. So since Diffie has come on, Burton has won for Wood Brothers, Briscoe for SHR, Logano for Penske, and now Buescher with RFK. Those are the 3 stats I just threw you. The Liffey Ford one, the 1 or the 7, or the top 5 the playoff drivers not being in top 5. I'm going to ask every one of you, what's the most impressive of those 3 stats?
It's definitely not the 1 or 7 in their car.
Yeah, that's kind of kitschy,
yes,
right?
I was going to say that's my least impressive.
It's silly, but I like it.
As I said, I think the 0 playoff drivers finishing within the top 5, you know, whatever, crazy shit happens in NASCAR. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you just get weird results. To me, it would be number 3. Ford is 4-0 in the Lee Diffie era. However, I wouldn't call it the Lee Diffie era. Like, I think that's just a coincidence as well. Yeah. I'm most impressed with that because Ford has historically, and again this season, kind of started slow and gotten better as the seasons went on. And now they've gone on a hot streak right at the most important time. Playoffs coming around, not only to get Burton in at the 11th hour as well as Chase Briscoe, but you get the first 2 wins of the playoffs. Granted, Chris Buescher is not a playoff driver, but Logano and Buescher that win a month straight of Ford races when we spent a large portion of this show dumping on them earlier this season. I think that's impressive and convincing. So as a holder of 2 Hendrick guys to win the championship this year, I'm getting a little nervous watching Ford kind of figure it out here late in the season.
I wonder who's your favorite now to win right now, Spider, as you're sitting here. Is it still Larson?
Yeah, it's still Larson.
Yeah.
Still Larson. I'm not
Let
wavering.
me check the odds real quick.
I believe he's plus 450 as of this morning.
Oh, you already checked them?
And he's tied with Christopher Bell. I did think it was interesting.
Right.
What are Denny Hamlin's odds on there?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Denny Hamlin is plus 550.
Which is crazy to me.
Tyler Reddick is plus 500.
I think Denny should be like 650.
Yeah,
But he's back against the wall here late in the playoffs.
I've never been a fan of Cup Series futures. I talk about this all the time with Spider, and I just don't think the value's there.
Yeah.
I think because Denny to win this weekend's plus 400. He doesn't have to win. He could point his way in, but like, I don't know. Like he may need to win that race, and that's plus 400, and for him to get all the way to the end and win it all is plus 550.
Right.
I'm more in on betting individual races than futures, but that's in general. I don't like futures for anything.
Does your betting get a little bit skewed because I just told you now that Lee Diffie is guaranteeing Ford wins every weekend, or does that not affect you at all? Are you going to bet on cars that have 1 and 7 in their numbers more often now because of that fucking wonderful stat I threw out at you? Or no?
I was about to say I think I might be doing that this week on accident, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'll throw a couple 1s and 7s in my bet slip.
We got to throw Nobody's Cooler, brought to you by Arctic Coolers. You go to arcticoutdoors.com, get the finest in insulated drinkware and soft and hard coolers. I'm giving it to Chase Briscoe. He entered the race last among playoff drivers and moved up to 11th in the standings after finishing 6th and scoring 43 points. He scored at least 10 points more than any other playoff driver. Chase Briscoe's coming on strong at the right time, right? Winning essentially his last chance to get into the playoffs and now doing pretty well. I also saw a stat that surprised me. Do you know which playoff driver has the best average finish after 2 playoff races out of the 16? Did you see this stat at all?
No,
Is it Cindric?
Cindric is a fucking great guess. Because that's the one. I mean, I thought that was a possibility too. It's not Cindric though.
I'm gonna guess Bowman.
Oh, it's definitely Bowman.
You're gonna go Bowman?
Yeah.
Moon, do you have a guess?
I know. I don't. I don't.
It's Suarez. Daniel Suarez.
Really?
Yeah, P2 at Atlanta, and then I think 15th this weekend gives him an average finish of like 7 and change. And so Daniel Suarez right now is has the best average finish of any playoff drivers. And I know we're only 2 races into it, but these guys, like we're saying, Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, nobody's cooler than Chase Briscoe this week, and Daniel Suarez have been driving their balls off this playoff season. I think it's fucking great. Anything that you guys saw jumped out at you from this week's race? I sort of did like an over-under on the little sheet that I'd thrown you guys. I'll throw out one with Juan Pablo Montoya. I love seeing this guy on TV. I'm trying to digest everything I can on him because he's a fascinating cat. And even though he finished P32, he's still better than Stenhouse and a road course ringer and Allmendinger, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney, who unfortunately had stuff happen. By the way, how they let Byron's car get back out onto the fucking when they essentially had to sawzall off the front corner panel was absolutely wild. But it was really nice to see Juan Pablo Montoya kind of not in the mix, but at least out there on TV a couple of times. Anything jump out at you as who had over or underperformed? I mean, there's a big one that's glaring.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to give credit to Corey LaJoie. P8 finish, but I mean the whole team
was top 10.
Yeah, whole team was top 10. Zane Smith finished 5th, and then Hocevar in 3rd. So pretty good result from them top to bottom, as much as I was not happy with Corey LaJoie early in this race.
So LaJoie, we're blaming him for that first wreck, but LaJoie also had 0 top 10s at non-draft tracks for a decade. And then he gets essentially fired, and 2 out of the last 3 weeks he's had top 10s. So Corey LaJoie, in his own way, is also turning it on. So he's definitely an over. What the fuck with Denny? Where are we at with Denny Hamlin now? He has 3 wins this season, none since April. 2 awful weeks to start the playoffs, P24 at Atlanta, and then somehow a 23rd finish at the Glen. He qualified 22nd, finished 23rd. He fell 6 points below the cut line heading to Bristol, where he's won the last 2 races. What's going on with Denny Hamlin? and how dire of a situation is it for the 11 team?
Things are bad.
Yeah, I mean, right now the only thing they have going is that they have a 1 in their number.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's all they got. But
yeah.
Kind of a little bit of like Kyle Busch type stuff going on with him. But I mean, on a more small sample size. But yeah, he's in trouble. He's setting himself up for like something that's out of his control, just completely taking him out of the playoffs. Because if something happens, Bristol, he probably won't get taken out of the race. But like, he's in a spot where I think he's going to kind of go back and forth on whether he's going to try to point himself in or try to win it and get in. And it's going to be, I think we might see him out in the first round.
Is that your call?
Yeah, I'll go on record. I think Denny will be out in the first round.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, I hope Quiggs is wrong, but it literally is starting to feel like that more and more as the weeks go by. He went from like a championship favorite as well as a favorite on any given week, as of like recently, as well as this coming week, which he deserves given race history. But he has very much had a fall off. I saw on Twitter someone was saying that it was around the same time he adopted the dog from St. Louis. He rescued the dog. Since then, his stat line had been like inverted. So yeah, I don't know. But I also think he's not the only driver we've seen kind of struggle like this. Like, I've been on Byron, and Byron's, I mean, he's in 10th right now in playoff standings. So another guy that kind of started the season promising, looked hot, and then kind of cooled off as the summer and as we slid into the fall. So I don't know. I do think Denny will move on and get into the next round. But as of right now, yeah, he's not in a good spot.
So if you have to pick a veteran that's going to be out in the first round, and right now, you know, if Watkins Glen was the end of the first round, we would have seen Denny Hamlin, Keselowski, Truex, and then Harrison Burton not make the cut. So, Quiggs, you had said that you don't think that Denny makes it out of first round. Spider, do you see Denny, Brad, or Martin Truex not getting into the round of 12?
I'm going to say Truex would be my veteran pick to miss. He seemed very disgruntled at the end of the race.
Does. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It seemed like he was very, I forget what it was, but I saw the quote on Twitter, and I remember looking at it being like, damn, he's really hot. Truex is usually not a guy that has a whole lot to say, and usually is not really like fiery with the things that he does say. But yeah, he was spitting fire after the race, and for that reason, I think that he's just kind of over it, checked out. He's on the outside looking in. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see him go on kind of a Cinderella historic final season, win the championship, and then ride off into the sunset. How cool would that be?
Cool,
but you didn't believe it as you said
like it.
No,
like when you said it, you weren't even believing it. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. It's a fairy tale. I don't see that happening. Whereas, like, I don't know, some of these other names, like, I feel like I could literally see Daniel Suarez shocking the world and winning a championship before
Austin
I see
Cindric.
Truex. Yeah. So crazy. I don't know. I'm kind of pessimistic on Martin Truex, as much as you and I both love him large.
Yeah. Who do you think doesn't make it out of this first round among those veterans who are very low right now? Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex. Moon?
I'm with Spider. I think Truex, the morale's gone. I mean, he basically, I think, in a roundabout way, said he was glad he's retiring and glad he's not going to have to put up with this next year. So I just think off a morale standpoint, he's probably the most likely. Brad's not in a great situation. I think Denny's going to win. I feel like Denny's one of the best drivers under pressure. And I think that, honestly, this is one of those situations where, like, it's got Denny Hamlin incredible performance written all over it. I might look like an idiot if he backs it in the wall on lap 1 or something this weekend, but I think that he's going to be just fine. But Truex is the one that I would probably say is not going to make it past this round.
I don't like Brad K. I'm not saying it was his fault, the way that he had hit Ryan Blaney. He was avoiding an accident on the first one, took out Blaney, and then he essentially put his wheel into, was it William Byron? Yeah, Byron's wheel was like in his front seat at some point. It looks like
that
Brad
was
Kay.
Scary.
Yeah, I was like, what does that window net hold back?
Yeah.
Right? Does it hold back a fucking tire? Was he like this in his car, trying to maneuver around it? Just perennial powerhouses, former champions, are in trouble. Are in trouble this first round in the playoffs. Which, I don't know, makes it makes a lot of people very, very angry, but I think it's making for an extremely interesting playoff season.
And it's a little bit of not more who can like move up into the 12. It's like who on that list is going to move down.
Ty Gibbs?
I think Ty Gibbs is going to have a good race. I guess Briscoe would be the guy you would say is the most vulnerable to lose his spot, but he could have a great race too.
I disagree with the Brad Kay thing, Large.
Go ahead.
Talk about momentum and morale. I think Moonhead has said it right. Like, it's at an all-time low this season for Truex. Whereas Brad Kay now, his teammate and his car, both the cars that he fielded have gotten wins this year. Like, coming off a win, I feel like RFK has momentum, especially the way the Fords have been running. I'm not prepared to cast Brad Kay out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I should give him also the Diffie difference too. So
yeah,
I'll take Brad Kay off
Large
that
got
list.
the stiffy for Diffie.
I got stiffy for Diffie. What's up, brother? Taping. Jack.
Who was that?
Jackson House. All right, so we're moving on. We're moving on to the final race in the first round of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and we're heading to Bristol. NASCAR has given us a triple header this weekend. The trucks are on Thursday night at 8 p.m. on FS1. It's all over the place, so you want to pay attention. If you want to watch NASCAR this weekend, you're going FS1 on Thursday night to watch the trucks, 8 o'clock. Xfinity is Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Catch that on the CW. And then Cup is running the Bass Pro Shops night race on Saturday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. on USA. Imagine trying to get a bar in New York City to do a race watch, like exclusively NASCAR at 7:30 on a Saturday.
It's so tough.
Honestly, they shoot you into the fucking moon. It's 500 lapper, just over half-mile concrete surface that will conclude the Cup Series playoff. Round of 16, 4 drivers will be eliminated from title contention at the checkered flag stages at lap 125 at 250, and then the final at 500. Denny's defending champ. He and Kyle Busch have won this race 3 times. Joey won 2 in a row here back in 2014-15, and Kyle Busch has swept the weekend, winning all 3 races here twice in his career. Fucking impressive is that. I don't know who's pulling double or triple duty. I haven't seen the entry list just yet. Bristol's hosted football games on a couple of occasions, but I just want to remind everybody, this is the place when you're watching the race. Major League Baseball will be coming to the state of Tennessee for the first time in August of 2025 when the Braves take on the Cincinnati Reds. This is where it's all going to go down. I just threw a history thing in there. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys, but in 1968, this track also served as the campaign rally for Alabama Governor George Wallace for the 1968 United States presidential election. George Wallace was a little bit of a douchebag. He ran on the platform segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Didn't like black people. So George Wallace wound up losing that election to Richard Nixon, and then he got shot in 1972 and spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair. There's not a lot of paint schemes released for yet. We're taping this on Tuesday morning, but our boy Jack Wood, I thought this was kind of cool, Spider. So Jack Wood had wheeled the Rubbin truck last year. He's teaming up with Mongoose and BMX. I used to have a Mongoose as a kid. It was a top of the line fucking bike. All the poor kids drove Huffies. I had a Mongoose. I was very, very proud of it until it got stolen. And Jack Wood is going to be wheeling the Mongoose number 91 this weekend in the Truck Series, and it's along with the USA BMX Foundation. So they're going to go to like local schools and give out a bunch of bikes and shit. So congratulations to Jack Wood. And I also like that Josh Bilicki is going to be wheeling the number 66 Arby's Ford Mustang Dark Horse for MBM Motorsports. When was the last time you were at an Arby's? Spider, I know that you're a Bojangles guy. I haven't been to an Arby's in decades.
I actually I'm a fan of Arby's. At least I used to be.
Do you fuck with Arby's?
Arby's.
I know actually Moonhead's a big Arby's guy, if I remember correctly, particularly the sauce.
Yeah, I love Arby's. I've always been. I think they're the most underrated fast food joint.
They might be.
And you think horsey sauce is better than Chick-fil-A sauce? Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know if I compare the two really though. Like, I wouldn't put horsey sauce on my chicken.
Yeah, facts.
So, but I do like it.
I used to have a Mongoose scooter.
Oh, did you?
Also,
I think the paint scheme was good.
Shout out Josh Balicki, 10th place finish in Xfinity this week, and then getting the Cup call.
Yeah.
Right? You said Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the We Have the Meats car.
Yeah, let's go, Josh.
It's actually making me want to go to Arby's. I didn't even know if there were still a lot of them. I looked it up. There's still over 3,000 Arby's in like 48 states. Ohio's got like
the curly fries hit long.
Yes.
Do they? So I gotta go.
Curly fries are so good.
Every restaurant brand or like fast food has their own, French fry. McDonald's got like the shoestring ones. Like Chick-fil-A's got waffle fries. Arby's is the only one that I've seen with curly fries, and I think they have regular fries as well. But the curly fries are where it's at.
I love these North Shore beef, these roast beef sandwiches. Dave turned me on to them, so every time I'm up near Boston, I grab a North Shore beef, and I think Arby's might have something that's close to that. North Shore beef people would just crucify me for saying it. You know what I mean? But I'm tempted to go. I will mention before we go, in 2012, a Michigan teen found an entire chunk of a finger in her Arby's sandwich. That was in 2012. And then
was that real?
Yeah, in 2004, an Ohio man found a slab of skin tucked between the bun of his roast beef sandwich. It was about 3/4 of an inch long. And then when they went to question the manager there, they noticed he had a bandage on his finger that covered up a wound about 3/4 of an inch long because he was slicing lettuce on a deli slicer, took off part of his finger and didn't decide to look for it. So that sort of turns me off a little bit, just to have those two recent skin incidents. And it's not, I Snopes the shit out of it. It's all true.
It was the,
Quigs,
do you remember the Wendy's chili?
Arby's 66. I think I'm going to go and give it a whirl.
Yeah, someone got a finger in their chili at Wendy's or something.
Yeah, but I think that story was fake. Do you remember the Wendy's chili story?
I do.
Was that what was the one? They used the leftover cheeseburgers? Is that?
No, it was just somebody had a finger in their chili, like a chopped off finger. It's the biggest fast food story, but I think it turned out to be fake.
The fast food chain suffered an estimated $21 million in lost business.
Was it fake though?
Yeah, she's been out of prison for about a year and living in San Jose.
She's been locked up until like last year?
Yeah, I got to read this whole article. I'm just kind of jumping around.
For fraud, I guess?
I cooked it, Ayala said, of the severed digit. Is that a digit?
Digit's like what you would call it.
Okay.
Finger.
Digit, that's your finger, yeah.
Yeah, during the interview, she said that she prepared the piece of ring finger at her Las Vegas home, then drove it to San Jose where she dropped it in the chili.
Where did she get this finger?
Yeah. How do you explain this one in prison when they ask you what you're in for?
Just put a finger in a
She was sentenced to 9 years in prison, but was released after 4 on good behavior. She's not allowed to step back in Wendy's.
That's great. Banned from Wendy's.
At least she didn't point the finger at anyone else.
All right, so there's nothing left to do but to move on to this weekend. So let's pick the tires. This brought to you by DraftKings. Touchdown, TD, taking it to the house, in for 6. Whatever you call a touchdown, one thing's for sure. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, from special teams or defense, we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings is the #1 place to bet touchdowns. So if you're ready to place your first NFL bet, try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your bet today. And ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers, you just have to bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the code Rubbin, RUBBIN. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm taking Denny. I just jumped on it because I'm wearing the sweatshirt, so I felt like I had the opportunity to go first. Even though he doesn't drive a Ford, there is a 1 in the number, and I kind of believe in it. I kind of am believing in this Denny Hamlin story, and I think it would be great to talk about as he makes it into the round of 12. So I haven't looked at too much other stuff. There isn't a ton out just yet, but I'm the first one who's going to jump in and take plus 400, which is that threshold for me. I'm going to take Denny to win. And then I'm also going to grab a long shot, but I'm going to think about that and come back to you. Who else do you guys have?
I'm going to take Kyle Larson. He's 5-1. In the last 4 races here, he has 1 win, 4 top 5s. He's finished top 5 every single of the 4 races here. His low finish position in the last 4 races is 5th. So he's currently minus 125 for a top 5 finish. I think that's worth a little sprinkle, but I'm going to take him outright 5-1 to win the race. Denny Hamlin would be the other guy, and Large, you have him on your card, and you're a giant loser, so I'm fading. No, I'm kidding. Denny has ran, skeptically recently, so I don't have the utmost confidence in him. I feel a little bit better about Kyle Larson, as much as he's still leaving some to be desired. But 5-1 for a guy whose worst finish here is 5th seems like a price I'm down for all day. So it's going to be Kyle Larson for me. In terms of top 10s, which the odds are not out yet right now, Chris Buescher has 3 top 10s in his last 4 races here. He's coming off a win. I'm kind of intrigued by that, pending what the price is. And I think there was one other one I had. But as of right now, those are the 2 I got. It would be Buescher top 10, Kyle Larson to win the race. And yeah, who knows? Stay tuned for Sunday. We might have a couple more picks come out once the top 10 odds are live.
I will tell you, there is a head-to-head that I find, because we were just talking about veterans that are below the cut line. They have Brad Keselowski versus Martin Truex. So that's picking a side. I know you guys sort of favored Truex, but I think I'm going to take Brad.
I'd be all over Brad for that.
I'm going to go the other way. I apologize.
Oh, you're taking Truex?
Everyone's saying how Truex is going to be the first one out, and how he's used stuff like ridiculous. He reminds me of the older black guy in a Lethal Weapons movie. Like, I'm too old for this shit. And I totally agree with that, but I just don't see Brad making it through. So I'm going to take Martin Truex in the head-to-head, and you could take Brad all you want, Quiggs, but I'm going to do that on the head-to-head. Can you throw that on my ticket as well? Go ahead, Quiggs. Yeah. I'm sorry to jump in.
I guess the theme of mine is kind of like guys with not that much to lose. Mm-hmm. So I'm going with Logano plus 1,500. Already got the win under his belt. Mm-hmm. I get kind of worried with taking like the Denny's, Kyle's, Ties, where you're not sure if their strategy is going to be just like stay alive and get points or what they're going to do. But I like Joey plus 1,500. I like Buescher as a top 5. He's been a top 5 in the last 3 races twice, and he was top 10 when he didn't get in that top 5, and that's plus 250. And then, not that he has nothing to lose, but he's got a pretty nice cushion and he's raced well here. I'm going Christopher Bell plus 550. And those are my picks.
Okay, cool. Anything jumping out at you, Moon?
Yeah, I mean, I know I said earlier I'm taking Denny to win, but I would definitely be looking at the Fords. I'm a big Lee Diffie believer, and with that being pointed out, I'm even more of a Ford believer now. I like Buescher too. He said that he was wanting to play spoiler. He won here a few years ago. Keselowski's always good there too. RFK is going to be strong. So I'd probably be looking at Denny, and then anyone else would be a Ford driver, probably out of RFK or Joey Logano.
Love it.
All right, cool. So the picks are in for Bristol this weekend. And again, Saturday night is when you're going to see that. Friday night's Xfinity. Thursday night is truck. So you have a full weekend of racing. And we'll be back to you next week on Rubbin is Racing. Anything else that you guys want to mention before we get the fuck out of here?
No, don't think so.
No.
I think we're all good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Cabo Wabo and everybody else. And we'll see you next week on Rubbin is Racing.